Uh, and our fine doctor, what is your area of expertise?
I am a professor of entrepreneurship at Johnson & Wales University,
Okay.
and I am also a social entrepreneur.
Okay.
I working with women and youth in developing nations with the vision to create an ecosystem of women and youth entrepreneurs, and of course the founder of our main, as well with the vision to make micro businesses sexy again.
Yeah, well, I'm all about it. I'm a micro business. Hey, I wondered if we wouldn't, Kimberly and Emery, if you wouldn't mind just doing your video so I can do a screenshot real quick. Would that be okay?
Sure.
If not, don't worry about it. Okay.
If
I
I turn on
understand.
my video, it might crash my computer. So I'm gonna
Okay. Then yeah.
And I'm on my phone. So
Oh, okay. All right. All right. So we'll just do our best here. All right, everybody who's here, smile. There we go. Awesome. Okay. Well, first of all, I think I got a little bit of a sense of where everyone's at as far as their micro businesses. And I have been a micro business owner now for 13 years. I just updated. Oh, I got to flip between. Yeah, and I just updated the next slide. But this is a little bit about me, and I have been pretty much a solopreneur. I have some help from interns, and I work a lot of times with freelancers to keep the wheels on the bus and keep the bus moving. But it's a trick, because you have to pull from client work to moving the business forward, and presents specific challenges. And I am very aware because I face those same challenges as well. So I wanted to just a little bit about me and my background. I was a journalist for 15 years. I spent 6 years at the Boston Globe. And I like to include this picture that I snapped while I was stopped in traffic of the Boston Globe, because it was my dream to work here since I was 16 years old. And the whole industry has been entirely disrupted, not unlike what a lot of businesses are dealing with right now with COVID pandemic. So, this is another scenario of been through a lot of rapid change. And there is a rebuilding process, and there's a disruption, but there's also opportunity. I call myself a marketing solutionist because I think a lot of consultants come in and they want to tell you what your problems are. And if you're a micro business owner, you already know what those problems are. You don't need somebody to really tell you. What you're really looking for is the answers and how you can move your brand or organization forward. So yeah, this is a little bit about my background. I have taught college courses. I'm actually launching a number of courses right now. One is a workshop, a self-guided workshop course. That's kind of the next step to what this talk is about. And it's designed to be self-directed and give you the tools that you need to succeed. And this is kind of an overview if you're, trying to figure it all out. But first I like to talk about what success looks like. And these talking points may look familiar because this was in the pitch, right? Like, how do you know what to be doing on social media, who you should be talking to? We can't be everywhere, especially as a micro business. So what do you focus on, which I think is really important. And then some tricks and tips and some tools, and then talk about process, which we spend a lot of time really focusing on. And it's interesting that, like I said, you balance this, like I'm doing this for a client, and then the roofer's roof is leaking and the cobbler's children have no shoes. But right now, through the pandemic, I've been focusing a lot on trying to lace up those shoes and fix them up a little bit, and moving in the direction of social media and digital marketing seems really like a circus. And I really like to create a symphony out of that circus. So I'm using this as a little bit of a test case to work out some branding ideas too, which is fun. Now I'm just curious. So when we talk about Maine, and Emery, you're pivoting, but feel free to jump in. I'm just curious what audiences, obviously micro businesses, obviously New England, but are there particular niches that you're finding are particularly helpful to connect with people? Or, is it like salon owners, or are there any industries that in particular you find are receptive to what Maine has to offer?
That's a very good question. For right now, I think we are still in the process of segmenting and can really refining. Just like, we are also a startup. We're startups helping some, micro businesses. And so we're in the process of segmenting and putting all that together, really honing in on we do know our target audience, but like we have different, at different stages. And so, and we are looking to get onto those, you mentioned like salon owners, barbershops, those are micro businesses. And usually those I found out that they need, they start these businesses, they know they have a passion for it, but they don't know how to run the business side of things. And so we are looking to go after them some more, like those type of people, and, to help them out. So yeah.
Sure.
So that they will understand what it really means to, like financial literacy, like what does that really mean? Because that's the part that people need help with and the most, and then run away from, because it's like, oh, math. It's like, it's really not that bad. Let me show you how to make that happen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. And what do you find are some of the best now? When I say channels, and, I don't want to get into too much marketing speak, but I just mean, specific tools and strategies, like MailChimp or email marketing would be a channel, or social media or TikTok would be a channel. So I think, when we look at those, are there any particular channels, whether it's email marketing, or I imagine LinkedIn is a good spot for you guys?
Yes, and Kimberly has done a great job with that. So, LinkedIn, email marketing as well. We've been doing, and so yes, I understand what you meant by how do we reach, like what are some of the ways that these people can reach us and we reach them, like, so yeah, we have we're very active on LinkedIn, and we have social, we have our Facebook as well. So those are like, if you need to talk to us, and of course, like I said, email marketing, like you mentioned, is also
Awesome. Okay, well, that's really helpful. And Amanda, Anne Marie, sorry. Does that ever happen when you have your name? It's like, it's just looking quickly, I'm like, Amanda, no, Anne Marie. Feel free to jump in.
That's okay. It's funny, people will call me Mary for some reason. So I'm used to, I come by any name.
Yeah. Okay.
But for me, LinkedIn is where I'm focusing my bandwidth right now. Spent a lot of time on Twitter previously. Instagram is like my fun time.
Yeah.
Facebook really doesn't do anything for me. Pivoting into cybersecurity, TikTok doesn't really make sense.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So what I'm really trying to focus on is, LinkedIn, and get back into writing effectively. So I haven't decided if I'm going to do more articles for LinkedIn, do a tease, and then have people click to go to my blog, or I haven't decided yet. I mean, this is my week that I'm just, trying to figure out what I'm going to do when I grow up. So
yeah, no kidding. I know, that's awesome. It's super exciting. All right. So I threw in some of these slides because I wasn't really sure who was going to be here. Just to talk about, demographics, like there is access to this information. But I think a big piece is making sure that you ask, and if you're just starting out, it's a little bit difficult, right? But you want to work through your network and work with people who are in that field, right? Out of the people that and maybe contacting other Salve grads who have a cybersecurity background, to just see like where are the needs. And then for Maine, these are some great ways to be just finding out, like, and I always approach digital marketing sort of like the scientific theory. Like there's never really going to be an answer. you kind of are making a hypothesis and you go with it and you build a campaign around it and then you learn, right? And the more people you talk to, the more you're out there, the more you learn about what's working, what doesn't work, and not get caught up in like this master plan. I do believe in planning, but I think that it makes it really challenging, especially for a micro business, to be like, okay, now I got to plan my marketing for the year. Like think about planning it for like the quarter. And we're going to talk about, some good ways to do that and how to think about it. But there are some really good things to be asking the people who you do interact with, where they are online, making sure you get their email addresses. If you're not following along in the digital marketing space, that cookies are going away. So the idea that, you're following people all around the internet, you're just not going to get that type of data. I don't think that really affects most micro businesses all that much, but it is important to mention that now is a great time to be collecting email addresses. Another quick slide, and I'm happy to share these afterward. And I wanted to talk about B2B versus B2C, but it sounds like we're all B2B here, so we can kind of skip that. But I'm just curious. So this is return on investment based on one specific digital marketing channel, and I'm curious if you know which one it is. That you get for every dollar you spend, you get $42 back. And your efficacy is 4 times versus the other digital marketing channels. So if we're talking ad spending, banners, email marketing, social media.
Is this Facebook?
No, next guess.
No, I know it's not social media.
Oh.
No, I don't know. I know it's not social media, but I don't know which one.
Yeah, it is email marketing. And
Okay, I was going to say that. The reason I was thinking about email marketing is because I know that it still works, but people somehow don't think about it that way because they're not doing it right.
Yep. Yeah. So this is current to the pandemic, right? So this is 2021 statistics. Now, what's interesting and happened with COVID is that the open rates went down, but click-through rates went up, and actual purchases went up. And people did vast clearing out of their inboxes and unsubscribing. So lists shrunk, open rates have shrunk, but when they do open and they do click, they're more likely to purchase. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that everybody gets really excited about social media, and the dirty secret of social media is that email marketing is still more consistent by and large. Okay, now here's a tip and trick. This is an example from Newport Interactive Marketing, and actually our talk in April is focusing as a deep dive on email marketing. And this was a workshop that we did last month on sales strategies. And actually, so if you're interested in getting the workshop or doing the deep dive on email marketing, it's not quite posted yet, but if you go to the NIM site and it says get invites or sign up for invites, we can put you on the list, and you'll get, and we don't really send out anything else but invites for our events. But this is an example of an email we sent out. Now, when you think about like long form copy, a micro business probably doesn't have time to really get into long form copy. You want to be pretty concise, right? But make sure that you have a call to action, make sure you have all the relevant information. So call to action is really important. And one thing that, it's really hard to keep up with all these digital marketing channels and social media. So what we're going to focus on is like, you don't have to be everywhere, and to think about what you're doing today, what you're doing already that you could be building on, and what you might want to be doing. So here we go with some tools and tricks that we use. Now, I've built Newport Interactive Marketing. Basically, it runs entirely on interns. And that's because we have tools and processes in place that make that happen. I work closely with the speakers to make sure that what they're going to talk about is aligned to what our audience needs. But other than that, they handle all the marketing. And this actually is, I downloaded this template from, if you do like Google Sheets editorial calendar template, boom, like this is the one that I like best. So, you have your calendar on the side, and this is actually an example that we did for C Rose Montessori. So to be thinking about, again, if we want to talk about a quarterly model, right? What's one thing that we can do once a quarter and think about like all the things that you can do to be promoting that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about events because that's been really my secret sauce. But what are all the things you can do leading up to it and after it? How can you repurpose that and how you can build out this editorial calendar so you don't have to be thinking every week, what am I going to blog about? What am I going to say? And to take more of a meal planning approach. So NIM, I've been doing it for 11 years now. This month marks our 11th year. And there's so much that we get out of it, right? So it's curating a speaker similar to this, right? We're doing it all online now. It was an easy pivot because I had done some online. We're not seeing quite the numbers that we would have seen in person because people do like to socialize and have a couple drinks and talk shop. But we're still seeing the impact and the need. So some tools out there that are good, like we're finding good success on LinkedIn events and also Eventbrite. It's still a really great tool. It's its own event search engine, and it has good SEO juice out of it. So we often will do that. Now, Marie, you might want to think about, is there a podcast that you could guest on? Think about that as an event. Like, what is something that you're like, putting on lipstick and getting in front of people, right? That would help you, and think about that as an event and think about events as a campaign. I think about those things fairly interchangeably because that's what's been really successful for most of my brands. Now, I'm the co-founder of C. Rose Montessori School in Portsmouth. And I'm also the board president, and I have been since the beginning, going on 5th year of that. And we did an event where everybody had missed a birthday by April. And so we did a cupcake school celebrating everybody's birthday. Everybody had a cupcake. We did a little craft. We had parents come and, socially distanced. We're outside. And it would turn out to be a really great event. Well, it was great, right? But the whole point of the event was to get media outreach and get media coverage. So we reached out to our local paper and, we maintain this list of media, right? That's all the local for this, because I didn't have a lot of time to kind of get into the weeds. I didn't do a big blast. I just reached out to the local paper in Portsmouth and they quickly were like, yep, we're on it. They sent a photographer. The photographer spent like an hour. We were on the front page. Now, one thing that if I had more time, because this C. Rose activity is all volunteer, is, it would have made sense to reach out to the Newport papers or Bristol and be looking at those venues, also those media outlets, because the school system is, people who live in those towns are looking for alternative education. Portsmouth tends to be public school driven. But, quick getting it done, then we could put it out on our social media that we got this coverage, really trying to maximize it, and then taking pictures and things like that. One thing that is important, I think, to think about when you're planning out your editorial calendar and you're planning out your campaigns is to make sure that you have all the assets you're going to need and to think about repurposing them. So, for example, we create some design assets. This is what we call a tip card. And we do these in advance of NIM events. I also do a podcast for a course that I'm launching for recent college grads who need to get into digital marketing. We're launching that course next month. And so I've been doing a podcast for about a year now, interviewing experts on tips. This particular tip card is driven toward NIM. Right. So this is from LinkedIn. Mark did a talk on Google My Business as a flash talk. But I just want to point out there's a couple of things, right? We have a visual element, right, in this tip card. The visual element has a call to action. We've tagged the speaker. We have hashtags and keywords. And is everybody familiar with keywords and hashtags? And okay, good. All right. So it's basically the vocabulary that people use. And LinkedIn and Instagram are both really easy at auto-suggesting hashtags you should use. And getting back to this micro business, one thing is this, I had an intern do this, right? And one thing that I noticed is that it should have like Google My Business. It should have local SEO, like there should be more hashtags on here that are more about the subject matter and less about like NIM itself. So, there's always room for improvement, but again, it's like the 80-20 rule in terms of like kind of getting the job done. But this is also where the editorial calendar would help, because we would have hashtags, like what are the relevant hashtags for this talk, and making sure that those are in there. And the hashtags and keywords are basically the same thing at this point. Now, when you are reaching out to people, you really want to be thinking about having a landing page or some place for them to go to. Now, let's say it's an event and you're using Eventbrite for your registration tool. That would be your landing page. But if you go to NIM, what we have is not quite the true nature of a landing page. A landing page is really designed to be like super simple, right? Like, here's what's going on and here's what we want you to do. So you recognize that you're in the right place, but then it's not too distracting. Now, where we typically are sending people for NIM, I want them to see, look at all these great talks we have, right? So it's not just register for the talk now. So we don't send them to Eventbrite. We have a little bit of code that we put on the NIM page, on our events page, so that then they can just register. But if you're doing the quick and dirty, Eventbrite's very effective. And then you're getting people's email addresses. So that can be really helpful. But I just wanted to mention that because I think that that's overlooked. And I think almost anything you're putting out in digital marketing should have a call to action, and there should be a landing page. Technically, that landing page should speak exactly to what that call to action is. Like the images should be the same. But again, like let's minimum viable product this whole philosophy here, and like just get the job done. Like you want to get people's email addresses, you want to be able to engage with them. So how can you do that? Okay, processes and resources. So I've been in business now. I think, it's 13 years, and it's taken a long time to get here, but these are some of my little techniques. And if you think about it, right, this is the epitome of a micro business owner, I would say. Like, how do you keep them all moving at the same time? And then like something happens and this breaks and power outage and all this stuff is always, presenting challenges. So having the systems in place so that they're not so dependent on you is really important, and building the infrastructure that pretty much anybody can walk into. So for Newport Interactive Marketing, we have what we call the roadmap. We have checklists. Actually, I have an intern who's been with me for 4 years because she's in grad school now, and she's moving on to interning with a big agency and like elevating her career. And I was really worried about what I'm going to do. Like I've been thinking about this for years. She graduated from undergrad last year, and I was like, oh, I get an extra year, thank God. But so she has so much institutional knowledge that it's really important that we document that. So she and our junior intern are actually developing an onboarding course just for our students, but we're also developing a course that's just to understand the framework, so that you can hand this off to an intern and they can understand like what, you're on the same page, they're on the same page, here's where we're headed, so you can work together and be successful. So that's pretty exciting. Okay, so repurposing content is really important. One of the strategies that we use for Newport Interactive Marketing is that we have a podcast called the Interactive Marketing Insights, and in the show, right? So it's basically Zoom. I record an interview with the NIM speaker, right? So it's branded a little bit differently, but the content is the same. What's different is the audience. So we're actually teeing up the NIM talk, which tends to go into greater depth and tends to be more technical. But the show is, the I&I show is really designed to be like, is this right for me? Email marketing, are they going to talk about something that am I going to get something out of it? Right. And it's kind of like the pitch and a little bit of proof of concept. And then when we go in, and so that's getting done early in the month, like we're actually going to shoot the show on Tuesday, and then we'll have that and we can roll that out as its own thing to say, hey, Interactive Marketing Insights show is focusing on the NIM speaker who's going to dive into email marketing this month. And then we have the video, we have the audio, we have the slides. from the deep dive at Newport Interactive Marketers at that talk. So it can be like, you know, in some ways I've created this little like nest, right? That can be a little bit messy in terms of like sorting it all out from a branding perspective, but it's really kind of designed to create an ecosystem that sustains all these things. But then it doesn't take it. I only have to schedule one person, right? So for the podcast and the NIM talk, it's the same person. And so just to create, you know, don't make yourself too crazy by trying to create too many different things when you can kind of brand it a little bit differently with a little bit of different focus, and it will achieve the similar results. This is another example of repurposing, and Rhode Island Tutorial Educational Services has been a client for a really long time, except during the pandemic, now they don't need me because they are so overwhelmed with demand from parents who are worried about their kids catching up in school, myself included, that now I am their client. But this is a project we did probably 4 years ago, that these are all parents. Actually, the top person is a board member, but who had a family member do their summer camp. And we did testimonial videos with these parents. We sat down with them. We did 20 minutes with each parent. And then we edited that content down to like 5-minute clips, 3-minute clip, 1 minute, 30-second. And then because we have these closed captions, it does two things. And I'm just curious what you guys think when you're watching video. Are you listening to the audio a lot of times, like if it's coming up on Facebook or what have you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. You do listen to the audio. Okay.
No, I'm usually on my mobile. So when I'm on Facebook or something like this, so I'm usually looking at the closed captioning because I'm usually, I'm on the move.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, for sure, it's yeah, it's challenging. Or, you know, I used to work in when I worked in the newsroom, I worked in basically like a big closet with 6 other people. So if I wanted to listen to something, you know, I had to have headphones. I don't always have them, you know what I mean? So the closed captioning also can be really effective. I tend to be like a speed listener. I listen to podcasts on double speed. I listen to audiobooks on triple, you know, and so just boom, 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 like getting through the content. But what this does is it not only feeds that closed captioning need, but now what we can do is we can screenshot these videos. And when we're writing the closed captioning, we're trying really hard to make sure that whatever that key selling point and what that nugget is in one screen, right? So we screenshot that now. And it's interesting because I was just looking when I was putting this together for a picture, because at one point, all of their images, and this is taken from Facebook, all their images on Facebook were all these screenshots of captures, and that's filtered down a little bit, but their videos are still there. And this is, from 2018. So, you know, it doesn't have like a ton of views in itself, but again, it's just sort of like creating this content. Now, one thing that's interesting is is not to necessarily think about like how many views you're getting and how much engagement you're getting, but also the algorithms are looking for longevity, right? It's kind of like a credit score, right? They're looking to see how long have you been a good, you know, credit, you know, person who qualifies for credit, how well have you treated that credit card. So if you think about the algorithms are thinking about that too, particularly YouTube. So we're launching this course and I have a bunch of, you know, videos from the Career Tips Insights show that I do. That's another podcast / Facebook Live. And we're going to be multi-streaming that starting next month. But the other piece of it is that we are taking all that and putting it out on YouTube, right? Well, we have a relatively new YouTube channel, but the agency I'm working with said, hey, do you have another channel that you'd be willing to merge with this one? Because if we merge those two, then your new channel will get all the credit history, right, of the old channel. And lo and behold, like I've been thinking about launching this course for years, like literally, I think 8 years since I first taught at URI. I thought, you know, this is what really needs to happen, and really have it be in depth and hands-on. And now with remote, like we have all the remote, because I've run all my interns remotely. So there's a lot of layers to it. But merging those two channels is bringing forward all that credit history. Now, like, do I love those videos? No. And part of the secret in this multimedia content is you just do it, like just roll with it and do it and get it out there and not get caught up on like, why did I do this? Or, why is my voice like that? Or the dog barked or whatever. And what's nice about digital marketing now is everything is so fleeting. Like how people are interacting and engaging with you is so fast that it really, it's sort of like the total is more than the sum of the parts are more important, right? So just getting out there. And that's why I would say, you don't really need to be everywhere. Like if you're doing events, if you're doing certain things, like how can you expand and build on those using the editorial calendar, using your media outreach. But another key piece is to set goals and measure. So one thing I would recommend, again, the quick and dirty micro business owner way would be to like go on to your Facebook page and screenshot things, export some of your metrics. You can do that with your email list. Just take screenshots, throw them in a folder, put the date on it and put like metrics May 2021. And then, in 6 months, you can go back to that. In a year, you can go back to that and see where you were at. If you have time, you may want to look and see, okay, which campaign was better? Like, what should we be doing more of? So at the end of the year, you're looking ahead, okay, what are we going to replicate? But chances are with a micro business, you already know. I mean, that's one of the nice things about working with solopreneurs and micro businesses, as I have for so long, is I go to all these conferences. I've attended thousands of sessions. Pre-pandemic, I would be at 6 conferences a year, major conferences. And, I go to all these sessions, they'd be like, and then do this, and then do that, and then look at this, and then look at your Google Analytics. And especially with working with Rhode Island Tutorial and a lot of nonprofits, you don't need to worry about all that if what you're worrying about is like making the cash register ring. How many members are we getting? How many clients am I getting? What does that pipeline look like? What shape is it in? And, if you have to prove that to yourself and you're not really like creating some 20-page report to wow your boss or the CMO, life gets so much easier and you really have that feedback loop. But the trick is to take the time to produce the content that you need for that feedback loop, right? Like you can't prove your hypothesis if you don't run any experiments. So that's really the challenge, is how to think about, okay, I'm going to be running these experiments and like see what's going to work and not attach too much to having the end all be all the answers, because as you go forward, you're going to know more, you're going to get more feedback and not really get so caught up. But when you do have a win, like take time to celebrate it, because as micro businesses, we're always moving on to the next thing. Like, what should I do next? What should I do next? And by taking some time to reflect about what went well, what didn't go well, it's going to give you the opportunity to refine and upgrade your game. Because, as a small business owner, especially a micro business owner, it's really hard to do that. And it's really hard to take the time to focus on that. But how else are you going to grow, right? If you don't kind of do that assessment piece. So that is really important. And I'm excited that, we kind of wrapped up on the early side. So I would love to just chat and go back to any slides if you have particular questions, or if you want to throw out some examples of experiments you'd like to run. Any idea? I'm definitely open to just riffing here. That's my favorite part of my job.
It would help if I actually put the unmuted my.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah, I'm thinking about email marketing. I have not done a very good job capturing emails. And I was in business for 10 years. I mean, or have been in business for over 10 years now. So I guess it's never too late to start. But I'm trying to figure out the best way to get my content, my specialized content out
Mhm.
to the right people. I mean, I know I'm focusing on LinkedIn. I don't want to give things for free because I've done that for a decade. I mean, I used to be a nationally distributed columnist with the Tribune Content Agency. So
Oh,
I did
wow.
that
Okay.
for a monthly column. And, essentially that was giving away good stuff for free. So
Yeah.
I'm sort of in this, I'm on the fence. I mean, it's like,
Yeah.
how much do I write
Right.
and give it away? And
Yeah.
how much do I lock away and have people give me their email addresses that I can start a funnel or basically for me, I hate to use funnel. I'm not a salesy person. Hence, my bank account isn't large, but I
We're
want
working on
to
that.
build relationships.
Yeah.
Because what I do, you have to trust me if I'm going to come save your business. I mean, be it
Right.
before with crisis communications,
Mhm.
but now with cyber risk and cybersecurity, I
Right.
feel like I want to have a relationship with people so that when things do happen, they feel really comfortable just picking up the phone and saying, help me now, please.
Yeah, sure. Well, I would say, it's a challenge, right? Because what you're writing about is like a pandemic is happening to your website, right? Like you're getting attacked, and that's hard. Like, I think that your open rate on your emails might be tough. So I don't know really that focusing on email marketing is that important as thinking about your LinkedIn and really honing in on who you're connected with, who you want to be connected with. I would rather see you really harness LinkedIn, which I know completely contradicts everything that I already said, but I do think that, it's a tough topic, right? So people, and also it's not something that's, unless you can come up with a way to talk about email marketing or what you're going to talk about in your emails is something that like, okay, this week do this, or like this month focus on that, or whatever. That's, to me, it strikes me as going to be a tough sell. Like, I delete a ton of emails that I should be like, oh, I should read this. But, and I think understanding the negative nature of what you're doing is hard. I don't know. Like, it's interesting because, I mean, I guess the best parallel or best metaphor I can think of is like, you're kind of in some ways like a funeral home director, right?
Yes.
Like everybody's driving real hard to drive by and not look, right? And so, because you don't want to think about it, but you do want to, and also save yourself the effort of trying to cultivate people who aren't going to want to be cultivated, if that makes any sense. I think you would do better with like a direct sales because it's primarily you, right? So you're just worried about.
Yes.
I think, yeah, just focus on LinkedIn and focus on, for NIM, we did a great talk. Let me just make sure it's posted, but the talk that was about the sales strategy, I think would be a really great tool for you, and to be using LinkedIn as that tool. I find that it's just really super effective. And then also getting on people's podcasts is another great thing that can be helpful because it's easy. You don't have to sit down and write, and you can basically just get on a riff. Like usually it's a prep call with the host, and they're going to give you some questions, and you want to think about that, what those answers are going to be. But yeah. And then, yeah, Kimberly's making a good point to make sure that you are leveraging your existing network, right? Because that is going to be key to just making sure that, like you have all these other people who've graduated from this program and networking with them. I think the hardest part when you're starting out is finding out what your secret sauce is. And for me, focusing on these systems and content strategy from a systems perspective, But then also, so, you know, I'm rebranding Angles and Insights also. And we are taking a two-pronged approach. One is working with small businesses who are like, it's a circus, I can't deal with it. And then we say like, okay, that's no problem. Like we can bring in the experts, we'll put together the systems. So it runs like a symphony, and you can have an intern or junior marketer on your staff to manage that for you. But then the other layer that's been really interesting is I've had Fortune 500s come to me who say, we love all the education you do. We love that you can do it online. And we want to do something with senior citizens, because we have an ad campaign that talks about senior citizens being connected. And we don't like have anything from a PR perspective to back that up. It just looks like fluff. So I said, okay, well, we can put together a program. And this was all pre-pandemic that we were gonna do. Actually, I think what we were gonna focus on was just how to use FaceTime and like video conferencing, right? Interfacing, right? Zoom wasn't even, I mean, I knew what Zoom was, but it wasn't something everybody was using. So once the pandemic hit, they got really scared about doing anything. And then finally, right before the holidays, we got this course kicked off where we trained senior citizens in how to use Zoom so they could stay connected safely through the holidays. And we did that as a pilot project, and we're waiting for it to expand to other senior housing centers. But like from soup to nuts, they said, we have this idea that we want to do something with seniors and connectivity. And I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what the program is going to be. Here's the instructor. Here's where we're going to do it. You know, and we did like a hybrid. We did some on site. We did like the initial pieces on site, and then we realized pretty quickly that it wasn't just learning the program, but getting comfortable using the program. So we pivoted because it was a pilot project, right? Instead of like doing the 101 course, it was like do the 101 course. And we had that, those pieces were in person. And then we had, then we did, like, we called it Zoom from your living room, because at that point the pause had happened in December. It was like, we couldn't really get groups of people together, even though they lived in the same facility. So anyway, it was interesting. And then that client is interested in other projects like that. And working, there's such a move away from we're going to sponsor this concert to we want to produce programming and we want to sponsor it, and you know, we want you to put the whole thing together, and you know, just give us the social media and the press release, or actually we'll write the press release, you do the social media, you capture all the pictures. And so that's been really fun too, to think about it from a macro perspective, you know, as opposed to like this one business that now needs like this campaign, all these campaigns for a year built out, to like, we need this huge project off the ground and we want to build a community around it. And that way we have this initiative that we can be proud of and that our employees can be proud of too. But yeah, it's a challenge. And I do think that for you, it's a matter of talking to people and figuring out like what really is your niche and how you want to focus on that. And I think, to me, just off from what you said, that I have this crisis communications background, and what could be a bigger crisis than cybersecurity. So when you understand the technical pieces, but you also understand the human elements, I think is a really nice intersection that is a big differentiator.
Yeah, apparently I have the soft skills that the technical people are lacking. So I'm hoping to merge all of that. It's just, you know, right now I had a bunch of ideas when I first started out, and I've totally scrapped them, and I've sort of went back to basics, and going to develop it from there. So it's going to be interesting in the next month how it's going to turn out. It's going to be great, but it's going to be different.
You know, it's an adventure, right? And you just have to think about it, you know, a door closes, a window opens kind of thing. Because I mean, that's how my journey has been. And I have to say though, that all the marketing I do for my business is entirely driven through NIM. You know, and everything comes in via referral. So, you know, to have something that you can like do as your thing and become known for, is really key. But I almost wonder, and I'd love to hear what everybody else thinks, that, if really your secret sauce is that you don't work with let's say somebody's been hacked. You don't work with that company directly. You work with a fix-it company to, to be that spokesperson almost, if that
Yes.
makes any sense. And then that would narrow your pool and your focus pretty significantly, at least to start with that.
I think Omar had something to say. I mean, Owen, sorry.
Who's that?
Oh,
Kimberly?
hey, Owen.
Oh,
You're
hey.
on the next page for
Am
me.
I? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Am
No, it's fine.
am I new to the group? You guys all know each other?
No,
Oh,
I know Kimberly.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Owen. I do videography. Susan, thank you for putting this all together.
My
Really,
pleasure.
really appreciate that. You did awesome. Learned so
Thank you.
much in that small time that I did get to see your slideshow. And I'm interested because with video, and with the marketing part of it, which what I try to work on is what you mentioned was have a landing page, and then have that landing page ready with, so you'd have, so for me, I make a video that lands on the landing page would be like a website for me. I'd make
Yeah.
a video that the first video they see is a brand message video where the company, whoever talks about the company. So when you visit the website, the landing page, you get to know the ins and outs, the who, the why, and the what in that page, which is, and then, but what I do is to target the people to go there. I also create a promo video that I put on social media for people, for companies, that would, with a call to action, which is, and I do know, like you said, the hashtag is very important. Putting keywords in there, which I never, I kind of like never thought about it, but that's a very, very interesting piece. And on the landing page, I do that brand video, and also the third video that I make would be, as you mentioned, too, testimonials, which is very important. Social proof is important as well. And yeah, thank you for putting that. But that's what I do. I do video, and I learned a lot. I try to take notes, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can send you the slides too.
Yes,
I'm always happy to chat. Yeah.
No,
And
I really do appreciate, and the value. I don't know, I don't know what you're selling, but like I know what you just did was like provide value, which is like, and I think in this day and age, it's very important to provide value for people. Because I would remember you just from I got, now that I make a social media post, I remember to add the hashtag, all the things that in the tip card that you mentioned. Every time I put that, I remember you. I think about you, Susan. So
thanks. Yeah.
thank you for that bit. Yeah, great value.
Yeah, my
Thank
pleasure. No, and and I do a lot of coaching for micro businesses and small businesses. One of my clients right before the pandemic came in and said, I want to be basically a motivational speaker. And I was like, oh, okay. But his whole genre about what is motivational about him was so perfectly aligned with what happened in the pandemic. But he was planning he's planning like his post-retirement career basically. And but we laid out all the infrastructure for him, and he's busy still being in the C-suite. But what we've built out already for him is going to be really helpful going forward. But everything from, kind of where you're at, Emery, like, I'm not really sure where I'm going to focus and how all these pieces fit together. Like, that's what I love to really focus on, and be like, okay, here's what I think, here's what you have to offer. Here are the people who need that. How do we connect those two dots? And, which social channel, email marketing, which digital marketing channel are we going to focus on doing? Because you really can't be everywhere. I mean, obviously you need a website and you need like placeholders and things like that. But yeah, I would say that podcasting is, because it's really exploding, and there's such demand. Like everybody's got a podcast now, right? So everybody's looking to host somebody on their podcast. So there's a great opportunity there. I mean, I have 2 podcasts now, so in addition to NIM, in addition to doing talks. So there's a lot of content flowing around there, which is great, which, as what I consider myself a brand journalist, I love that.
How about Clubhouse? Speaking of
Yeah.
podcasts, are you big on that too?
No, but like I'm hearing about it all the time. And I mean, part of my challenge and getting back to the micro business piece is that, like I have an 8-year-old, I am board president of the school. The school has taken up a ton of time this year. Just, making sure that everybody's able to be in school full-time safely, and rebuilding the board because everybody's burnt out. So Clubhouse is, I would like Clubhouse a lot because I'm so used to auditory. I've been listening to podcasts for a really long time. Even when I worked at the Globe 13 years ago, I would be listening to a lot of content, listening to Marketplace and NPR. And like, I always liked that. And part of, don't tell anybody this, but when I was at the Globe, one of my, one of my tasks was fairly routine, and I could do it while I was listening to audiobooks. So like I'd be listening to marketing books while I'm like editing and scanning and, correcting things and doing layout and stuff like that. So that wasn't like occupying 100% of my brain, but
We're telling on
I,
you.
I think that, yeah, I would like Clubhouse, and there is a move. It's interesting because when I was thinking about the talk, I was going to mention Clubhouse and to say that there is a first mover advantage. Like even with TikTok, I wasn't really too keen on getting into TikTok. And now my team, we're putting together a little campaign for TikTok to try out for ROI&U, the digital marketing course, because that's where our target audience is, right? Like college students, they're all on there, and my interns know it inside and out. And so I said, hey guys, I'm thinking about, we should do something on TikTok, but I am not on TikTok. And, Emery, my brother, heads cybersecurity for the Coast Guard. So, occasionally things leak out about what you should and should not be doing. And TikTok is one of the things you should not be doing. But I'm like, oh, okay. And so anyway, the interns are, we strategized, we came up with a whole campaign, and there's some mechanical pieces. And that I would love to talk to you about, in terms of like having cameras set up so that, because TikTok's vertical, but everything else is horizontal. And because again, this is the multi-purposing. So like thinking through like, how is this content going to render on this channel versus that channel? It's, it's nuanced, but working through those problems, I think, is really fun and interesting. But yeah, to be thinking about it. And again, like think about where your target audience is and what you should be doing for them. But yeah, there's a first mover advantage also.
Yeah. Do you think, and also for you though, you like to listen to things at 3 times the speed. They may not work for you.
I know. I think so. I think I don't know if I would find it boring, but what I've heard is that people, because there's no visual element, that they're listening while they're working. That's what I've heard, is like the technique is that they have it going on and then there's like a conversation going on. It's sort of like when you're at a party and somebody's talking to you, but the conversation across the room is a lot more interesting and you can't stop but listen to that. Yes. I think that's sort of the vibe from what I hear. And I mean, somebody sent me an invite like a long time ago, so I grabbed it. So I'm technically on there. I'm just not active.
Yeah, I've been on Clubhouse. I've been sort of a lurker.
Yeah.
It could be interesting. It's just finding the right room to join.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, going back to what you said about particularly micro businesses, I did social media for a really long time, and I used to be on every platform known to mankind, and even those ones. So now I'm sort of like, oh my gosh, another platform.
Yes.
But it's exactly my hat off to you. I don't, it looks like it could be a really good way to get your name out. But from what I've listened in, it tends to be really a hot mess.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
that's just the rooms I walked into.
Mhm.
But it could sort of be the audio version of TikTok in terms of potential disasters.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's interesting, like I've been through Foursquare, Vine, Meerkat, like all these channels. And so it's when you've been around the block that many times, you're kind of like, am I really gonna invest a lot in this? And it's challenging. And just looking at my feed, looking at these video feeds from like 10 years ago, I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, even LinkedIn strips out, they brought back events. They had events when I first started doing NIM. That's one of the major ways that I built out NIM. And now they brought it back and I was like, well, thank God. But as a user, it makes you reticent to invest, right? If it's like, okay, you're just going to pull the plug whenever, like back in the day, people said, why do you need a website? You should just use Facebook. Well, now we know why, because Facebook wants you to do ads and organic reach is like 1, 2, 3%. So if you have 100 followers, 3 people are seeing a post, and that's data from probably 4 years ago. It's got to be less now because my feed is full of groups. Granted, I'm part of a lot of groups, but that's another opportunity there. But yeah, so
Sorry, are you on LinkedIn?
I am. Yeah.
I didn't see
Suzanne
it on the
McDonald.
bottom there. Can
Oh
you
yeah.
type
Yeah, I am
type
on
it in
LinkedIn.
the, can you
Yeah,
throw it in the
LinkedIn
link
is
real
actually the
quick?
best place to get me.
Yeah,
So
can
I
you throw your
cheated.
can you throw it on
This
the
slide is
chat
from
there?
another talk.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I cheated a little bit. This slide's from another talk. I was like, oh, LinkedIn's not on there. Oops. But yeah, I think it's Suzanne McDonald 2008.
I just shared it.
Oh, thanks. Awesome.
Oh.
Thank you. Thanks, Kimberly.
Yeah, you heard me begging her, didn't you,
Yeah.
Kimberly?
Oh, see, I'm right.
No problem. No problem. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll have a
Alright.
lot of follow-up questions for her.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. And that really is, I have to say another thing too, again, to contradict something I said earlier is, for me, because I'm in this crazy, I got so many things going space, that email is tough, right? LinkedIn actually is the most effective way to reach out to me. I keep LinkedIn like really clean, whereas email has just all kinds of stuff going on. Like different folders, and part of that I think is Gmail. And next year, one of my goals is to really institute a much better CRM. I was on my way pre-pandemic to be doing that, but yeah, LinkedIn is a great way to reach out to me.
Perfect.
think-
I'll go ahead.
I have to say that I really love the imagery. And I think that it really is perfect for micro businesses in general, because it really is like a juggling act.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it took a little while to, again, like it's always, you don't really
Experiment.
necessarily know. Yeah. And so it's like what resonates with people, what's really going to work. Yeah, so it's fun. I mean, and that's what makes it fun too. And another thing about being a micro business owner is, and I like to say, don't be the worst boss to yourself that you've ever had. Like I've had some really bad bosses. And so I ended up taking Monday off. My mom needed to go to a doctor's appointment. And I was like, you know what? Like, and typically I take like flower show Friday off because I take my mom to the flower show on the Friday in June, and just things like that. Like you kind of have to take advantage of that, taking breaks, even though it's really hard. But that I always find really unlocks like your subconscious and the things that the problems you're really trying to work through, especially for your business, to step away and have some time and space to think about it. It can be really, really beneficial.
Great saying. I love that. Don't be the worst boss to yourself,
Yeah.
because I am the worst boss to myself.
Yeah.
I love that paradigm shift. You just said no, like, because I work way, way, way too much on, and I enjoy it actually. So You need time
Right.
to
I mean, that's the
yourself.
thing. In some ways it's kind of an addiction, but, and it is, right? Because it's sort of like you're on this roller coaster, right? Or like you're rock climbing. Like, don't you feel like you're rock climbing or something? It's like, okay, I got this hold and I got to do this and do this and do this. And, and you don't really know exactly what path it's going to take, especially for a micro business. Like choose your own adventure, like where's that opportunity going to come from? And if you're not out there, if you're not experimenting, it's like it's not going to be clear which way to go. And I think that's probably the biggest piece is, you do throw some spaghetti and some of it falls on the floor, but that's okay because you don't want it all to work. You really don't want it all to work because now you have like too many things to keep in the air.
Yeah, it's a great perspective.
Yeah.
Friday,
So it's good.
Flower Friday.
I wasn't totally gray when I started my business. Let's put it that way.
You still look great. Stop it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Well, if there are no further questions, does anybody else have any other questions? Anne Marie or Owen or Sandra or Dr. Aswani?
I
No, I'm
just
good.
want to say-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, doctor.
That's all right. It's okay, Owen. It's better to, we want to hear from you, please.
Stop. No, I was just gonna say another thank you so much, Susan. I did send you a LinkedIn. I don't know. I'm not really. I gotta learn LinkedIn and make it my prime go-to for social media. But I did send you a connection thing or whatever it is that get to follow you or whatever.
Awesome.
So yeah, so I get to say, hey, we did meet on Zoom.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'll know who you are. Yeah,
All
for
right,
sure.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for your questions. I really appreciate it. It was
No
really great to
worries.
connect with everybody. I do like small groups like this where we all get a chance to connect. I think that's a
Very
really
intimate.
nice feature.
Oh, and can I, doctor, before you go, can we connect somehow? I would like to volunteer and be helpful with your organization.
Yay,
Sure.
thank you.
Because my focus has been international relations. That was my degree. And I concentrated on security, of course, but it was very much women's focused. So I would like to reuse my skills for something that I'm
Absolutely.
very passionate about, and that's development and getting women empowered.
This sounds good. I am going to put the website on here just really quickly. At least you have access, and then I would love to talk.
Definitely.
I posted my email right there. So
Awesome.
It's Owen at Alfred Videography.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I like how you did throw the international thing in there. Is it studied overseas? Is it
You're talking to Anne Marie?
Anne Marie? Yeah. She said that she does the international studies.
I did do international studies. I think the world is global now. So
Yes.
everything I do is international focused. There are no boundaries. But I'm actually from Ireland.
Really?
Oh.
So
Great.
That's awesome.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much, everyone, for your time. And thank you so much, Suzanne. We really
Yeah.
appreciate your time and everything that you put into the presentation today.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, please reach out to Dr. Aswani or Sandra. They'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. I
Great.
put a link to the group in our chat today, so you can join our group if you haven't done so already. And